Hello, and thank you for answering this question. Does the parable of the leaven describe the growth of the true church of God, or could it be referring to the false church, the growth of the tares within our churches today? The passage is from Matthew 13:33, which reads, "Another parable he spoke to them. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till it was all leavened." Thank you so much for your answer.
You see, many and perhaps the majority of commentators, even evangelicals, interpret this parable as the growth of Christianity, true even Christianity. Incidentally, just a couple of weeks ago, I read in the Vatican News, I often do to follow the movement of this church. There the Pope himself told his followers, and I quote, "We are called to be the yeast, the leavens the dough." Obviously, his understanding of this passage about leaven is the growth of the church, of his church. However, what did Yeshua mean when he gave this parable? Let us read the passage again, and then we will put it in the context of the scriptures. "The kingdom of heaven is like leaven which a woman took and hid in 3 pecks of flour until it was all leavened." Again, the usual interpretation is that the woman is the church, the 3 measures of meal is the word of God, and the leaven is the growth of the church in the ages. Sounds so logical, but what is logical is not always true. The context, the biblical one, and the historical context will tell us otherwise. Let us start by the context of the first centuries. Whether it is the Talmud, the Midrash Rabbah, the Targums, leaven symbolizes what is unclean, what is sinful. In both the Talmuds and the Midrash Rabbah, they call the evil inclination, Yetzer Hara, as the leaven that is in the dough. In a prayer found in the Talmud, which asks God to help against our sinful nature, we read the words, "But the yeast in our dough, that is, the tendency toward evil, hinders us." But it is the same again through the Hebrew scriptures and also through the New Testament. It's always a type of what is evil. The word leaven is only mentioned 5 times in the Hebrew scriptures. The first time is in Exodus 12 at Passover, and it is mentioned negatively. Here leaven was not to be found in the homes who had the blood of the lamb on the doorpost and the lintel. This is in contrast to the redemption and salvation. In verse 15, the word leaven and leaven are mentioned 3 times, reminding the Israelites not to mix leaven with the Passover. The same commandment is repeated in Deuteronomy 16:4. Next, after Exodus, we find the word leaven in Leviticus chapter 2, where the Israelites were ordered never to offer leaven on the altar of sacrifice. Then in the New Testament, it is mentioned 13 times. The first time is right here in this parable, as well as in Luke 13. And the 11 other times, it's always negative. Yeshua spoke of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees in Mark 16, 3 times over. He mentions the same thing in Mark 8 and also in Luke chapter 12. In 1 Corinthians 5, Paul mentions it in a negative way. He speaks of the leaven of malice and wickedness. Same in Galatians chapter 5. Now, the 5 mentions of leaven in the Hebrew scriptures and the 11 mentions of leaven in the New Testament are negative. This gives us a guideline to follow and safely interpret the parable of the leaven as negative. That is describing the growth of the false church. The woman then is the false church, the same woman we find described in Revelation 17, who is called the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. The 3 measures of meal are the false doctrines which are introduced in the good churches. And the use of leaven is a prophecy of its growth, and indeed the last 2,000 years it is the church which grew and also that we can see today. Furthermore, see what the woman does. She mixes the leaven. The word is hide. She hides the leaven. This is then something that is done in secret. In secret, the Greek word is encrypto, from crypto, to hide, to conceal. The true church of God, that is the body of the Messiah, has nothing to hide. On the contrary, we are evangelists. We promote the free salvation of the Messiah. The woman in Matthew 13 tries to corrupt the wheat at the beginning of a new era, the wheat being the believers in the church. Again, looking at the historical context of the visible church, it's been 2,000 years since the church was born, and we still have more unbelievers than believers in the world. And the world is less and less tolerant today of the Bible, and it's leading to Laodicea, the last form of the church, which really is no church at all. Why? Because there are no believers in them. This is where this parable leads us to.